That's James Ham. He's right over there.
I am.
I'm Kyle Madsen. I'm right here. We will both be in the building tonight at Golden One Center when the Milwaukee Bucks come in to take on your Kings of Sacramento. And I'm in a conundrum. It's the perpetual conundrum for me. I've never seen a beam live. I still want to do it.
Okay, Kyle, so I believe in the opposite. We're going to go opposite day today.
Okay,
we're going to go opposite day, which means that if you stay in our earth tones, we look like we're ready for fall or autumn.
Yeah,
autumn, if you will.
Clinging to the last vestiges of hoodie season.
That's right. Okay, so I believe that if you show up and stay for the entire game tonight, because the Kings should lose this game, they will win.
Okay, let me counter, because I know that you're on this superstition tip with me.
Okay.
We're both not a little stitious. We're both superstitious.
Yeah, we both are we're the Wade Boggs of Sacramento sports radio.
That's what many are saying. We're getting t-shirts made.
Yes.
The insiders, the Wade Boggs of Sacramento sports radio.
That's right.
We drink a lot of beer and we're very superstitious.
No. Chicken wings every game.
Wings and beer. Yeah. All right. So we need the fortress of wingitude.
We do.
Next.
We do need
bring in an air fryer. We'll fire up some wings.
It's always hot. Like it's like a little heat lamp inside of a locker. Every time you walk up, there's always fresh chicken wings.
No worse than whatever you're getting at a gas station. So fire it up, boys.
That's right.
Yeah. So but you say you expect the Kings to lose tonight.
I do.
Which means I am expecting them to win based on our pattern of Kings beat teams they shouldn't beat and then lose to teams they shouldn't lose to. So if I stay, am I then messing it up and realigning things where the Kings lose a game to a better team? This is a conundrum for me.
It is a conundrum.
If you're not in on the bit, by the way, I've never been at a Kings game and stayed the whole time where I've gotten to see the beam lit in person.
You're a straight up jinx.
Top to bottom. Yeah. If I leave early, it's a W. I think every time. I don't think they've ever lost a game where I left her.
I've told you, the first A's game I ever went to, my uncle took me and all my cousins.
Right.
We go to a game, and he's like, 7th inning, he's like, all right, we're out. And I'm like, well, the game's not over. He's like, hey, we got to beat traffic. And I'm like, okay, whatever. We get in the car, and the Detroit Tigers scored 8 runs after we got in the car, and we didn't get to see any of it, and the A's lost.
Brutal.
I was not happy.
Brutal.
I've never left a game early since.
That's brutal. Yeah, and I think the same thing should apply to me, but the opposite. But also, there's a selfish part of me that I want to see I want to see the pomp. I want to see the circumstance.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see the whole thing. I want to hear Malik Monk cuss at the crowd.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he got a little loose.
Whoever lights it.
Yeah.
Should they win tonight? So this is an ongoing thing. I'm literally planning as I go. Because I took Detroit. I went to the Detroit game. I was like, well, certainly, this is the one. They got me tonight, and no dice.
That's crazy, Kyle. When they lose to the Detroit Pistons because you're in the building, that means it's legitimate. You are the jinx,
right? But I want to see the beam in person.
Okay,
I've seen it from Drake's barn.
Okay.
I was over yonder one game night when we saw the beam go up. I got photos. It's like, yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
First time I've ever seen it. But like I said, I want to be in the building for it. I want to hear the chants. I want to see the button. I want to see the whole show that goes on inside.
Okay.
I think I'm sticking around tonight, guys.
The Kings really need to
I'm sticking around tonight.
See it 2 games in a row.
I'm sticking around.
That's what they
or
need.
Or maybe I'll tell them I'm leaving. Because I think that's what happens. I think they get nervous. I think they know. The players know. They look up over to the press area. They're like, oh, God.
I declare bankruptcy.
He's still up there. There's 8 minutes to go in the third, guys. He's still up there. We don't know what to do.
That's right.
We have no chance.
Wait, he told us he was leaving.
I'll just do the thing where I leave out the back so they see me leaving, but then I just circle back on the concourse.
That's right.
Okay. I'll go to the draft house for the second half. Maybe I'll do that.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's an idea right there.
I think that's the play.
That might be
the play.
Go be with the people.
I'm going to go be with the people.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the play for sure.
All right.
Buckle up. Except I'm wearing, as Ramsey has noted in the chatty house at youtube.com/ESPN1320. If you want to come hang out with us there, please do. Don't make the guy named Michigan Wolverines angry, though.
No.
You won't like him when he's angry. As Ramsey pointed out, I accidentally wore Bucks colors today.
Oh.
I mean green.
You just go get yourself an insider sweatshirt. There's more. I'm just saying, just go choose a new color.
Because the jacket I brought to wear to the game, because I'm not going to wear a hoodie to the game necessarily,
Okay.
but I have it's the same color.
Oh. Huh. Maybe that's
it's just like I just grabbed my hat and I'm like, oh, what goes with this hat?
Okay.
This is hoodie.
I'm glad I don't have to think what goes with my hat every day.
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
It's not that.
Well, you have a lot of hats.
I wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
I generally know what goes with what when I'm putting an outfit together for the day.
Okay.
But I did not even consider that the Milwaukee Bucks wear these colors. I just wanted to wear my Black A's hat.
Okay.
Nah.
I think you're okay, Kyle.
I'm sticking around. FYI, I'm in the building all game.
I'd say just go grab a blue hoodie or a red hoodie and you're ready to go. So then that way
it doesn't match my hat, bro. This is important to me.
Okay.
And my head isn't even shaved, so I can't go no hat, which is very rare for me. But I can't go no hat.
Okay.
Because my head is not properly shaved.
And you don't have a blue or a red hat hiding somewhere?
No. Why would I do that?
You could just grab another new black sweater. That would
be nuts. I already have one. I don't need another one of those. Just for this bit.
Okay.
Plus, this hat doesn't match that hoodie either. There's red on the hoodie. There's green. This doesn't.
It's close. It's close.
And I'm wearing black. No. I can't do all that.
Okay.
I've got to go. Maybe wearing colors of the opposition team.
Maybe that's a bit.
Well, I don't know. We're tweaking the formula.
Yes.
We're figuring this out. And the Kings play the Bucks tonight. We'll get into that game. We'll dive in with a look ahead coming up in about 10 minutes. But NFL free agency went bananas yesterday. Nothing official, of course. It was just the legal negotiating window. It opened yesterday at 9 a.m. No deals become official until tomorrow at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Pacific time, when the new league year officially opens. The 49ers made a couple of intriguing additions with defensive ends Leonard Floyd and Yetur Gross-Matos. They lost quarterback Sam Darnold to the Vikings, defensive tackle Javon Kinlaw to the Jets, tight end Charlie Werner to the Falcons, and defensive end Cleland Ferrell to the Commanders. They also tendered a contract for Juwan Jennings. That is a second-round tender, which all but ensures that Juwan Jennings will be in San Francisco this year.
Okay.
At least. They can still work out an extension.
It's at like $4.68 million or something,
4.89.
Right? 4.89.
4.89, fully guaranteed for the year. They can work out an extension. If another team signs into an offer sheet, let's say Tom Telesco down with the Raiders, who we'll talk about here in a second. Say Tom Telesco's like, I love Juwan Jennings. I need him in the building. They sign him to an offer sheet. The 49ers say, that's too rich for our blood. We don't want to match it. Juwan, you go be with the Raiders. The Raiders have to give the 49ers a second-round pick because of that second-round tender. So a team paying Juwan Jennings more than the 49ers would be willing to match while also giving up a second-round pick to get him feels like it's not going to happen.
Probably not.
And it could. Never say never, but...
Yeah, I mean, what would be the cutoff? That's the interesting thing.
If a team goes 4 years, $48 million, I don't think the Niners are doing that.
No.
But if a team comes in at 4 and 32, I think the Niners would match that.
Oh, okay. You think they give him $8 million?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you go look at other receiver contracts, I think that's as high as they'd be willing to go. I don't think they want to go that high necessarily. He's just an important player, and they don't have a ton of depth at receiver. So
no, I totally agree. I love Juwan Jennings. I think he's a very, very good wide receiver.
The thing with him on the open market is I don't know that his value league wide is going to be the same as it is to the 49ers necessarily.
I can see that, but I would also say that like for a team that wants a big receiver that maybe you could turn into like a touchdown machine, like, yeah, I think that there could be some value out there. Like, I think that there are teams that, again, like we talked about Kansas City. Kansas City still hasn't signed a wide receiver. It just doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
I don't know what the market is with wide receivers this season. It seems like the running back market is crazy. The wide receiver market really isn't as loud and noisy. But I definitely could see a guy like Juwan Jennings fitting in with Kansas City, where you might be able to get. He might turn into a 1,200-yard, 10 touchdown guy, and I'm not sure.
Maybe.
Maybe, but he's good on third down. He's big. He's a big body in the end zone.
Yeah.
So yeah, if
Really
y'all,
good blocker.
yeah,
Yeah, I just so far what the Niners have done in free agency to me has all kind of tracked with what they've needed to do.
hmm
They aren't in a financial space to make a big splash, so they go out, they shore up some depth, and none of their losses are players where you're going, man, I don't know how they make up for that.
yeah. I
So
mean, I think the
I
only
think
one that's hanging out there is going to be Armstead, and they don't at this point have a defensive tackle to
yeah,
sort of replace what he brought. And I get what they did here with Leonard Floyd and Gross Matos, but they need more. And maybe you can get that done in the draft,
sure.
but you also need to build that offensive lineup in the draft as well.
Yeah, man, they got a lot of boxes to check still, and we'll
hmm
continue talking about that as free agency rolls along here. So while the 49ers are hitting singles and doubles, you've got the Las Vegas Raiders down there
Oh,
making a home run swing with the Christian Wilkins signing, and
oh
then
yeah,
after our show yesterday, they added Gardner Minshew to play quarterback. I am such a big fan of those two additions just by themselves. I'm a
yeah.
huge Gardner Minshew guy.
I like Gardner Minshew as well. I believe in the Minshew magic. And I think, like, as a stopgap, it still means you probably need to draft your quarterback
No doubt.
right
No
here
doubt.
in the first round. You probably need to do that. But I like him carrying you through. He's gritty. He's sort of I mean, really, he's kind of the anti Jimmy Garoppolo. Someone who does it with grit and with,
Mm,
he's not flashy,
yeah.
and he just goes out there and kind of gets it done when he needs to take off running. He does. He's a guy that you rally around. So
Mhm.
I like it. I like the move.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see how they operate at quarterback, whether it's trading up in the draft, whether it's hanging out at 13 and seeing if a player falls to them. Maybe they like Bo Nix in the second round or something. I have
Hmm.
no idea what their plan is at quarterback, but you feel way better about Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, and X versus Aiden O'Connell and X and Y.
Oh yeah.
So I really like what Las Vegas has done. I don't think they're in danger of winning the AFC West or anything, but when you look at how they finished last year, you look at the culture that Antonio Pierce has built there. Now you're starting to see, hey, they're getting some talent to match with that culture. They already have what was a really productive defensive line last year, and you add perhaps the best free agent defensive lineman outside of Chris Jones, the best free agent defensive lineman available to put in between Crosby and Malcolm Kuntz, and I really love this for Vegas. They're gonna be fun next year.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
Good stuff.
All right, Giannis is at Golden One Center tonight. James and I will be at Golden One Center tonight. Hope to see you out there as well. Let's look ahead to this Sacramento Kings game against the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll have that. We'll have more free agency news for you. Anything that breaks during the show, we'll have it for you right here on ESPN 1320. So don't touch that dial. We'll be back in a second here on The Insider, sponsored by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320. Clear.
Seems like there's a lot going on around us today. And it's just me, or is it cold in here?
You said what?
I think it's cold in here.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like there's AC on or something. Also said, I think it seems like there's a lot going on around us today.
Yeah, there's way more people in here, it feels like, than normal.
Yeah. Well, when the sales team, everyone's here, it's usually a little more lively.
Come on, Manny.
What's going on?
This.
Oh,
Also, I noticed when I was cutting video yesterday, I uh, uh, I noticed on the video yesterday, somebody asked a question that you pulled up that I missed. They asked how I balance Niners Wire with this.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of work after the show and late into the evening, doing reaction stuff. But for the breaking stuff and just kind of the quick hitter reaction stuff, my contributor Tommy Call, shout out to the homie Tommy, love him to death. He is not, no pun intended, on call, basically just monitoring Twitter and knocking out whatever news comes down the pipe. So it's super nice having a contributor, because my first 4 years at Niners Wire, I did not have one, or at least a super reliable one. I had a couple of really good writers who wrote for me, but they were, very one or two things a week kind of thing.
Got it. I'm gonna pull this one up too.
Yeah.
Birdvis. I don't typically wear flannel. Kyle bought me a flannel for Christmas, and then my son got a flannel, and so I stole this flannel from him. Just because I like it. It's fuzzy.
You had to get past the hump of your perception of a flannel wearer.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in an age where Al Borland was a thing.
Oh,
yeah,
goat.
Tool time. Like I can't go around wearing flannel.
What the hell was it? Home Improvement.
Home Improvement.
That's right. You said Tool Time, and I was like, loved that show. And I'm like, no, that's the show in the show.
Yeah. They had a lot of shows within the show. Oh.
I love that RP leans into the Zach Levine bit.
Kyle, is there any offensive tackle free agent?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't taken a. Yeah, nobody. I don't think so. I just don't. I don't know that. I don't know that they'd be better served using a first round pick on a tackle in a deep class, or spending the money to bring in a proven commodity.
Yeah.
History says that they're going to go the draft route.
I think it's okay to go the draft route as long as you give somebody a couple of years to work with Trent. And I don't know if he's going to be around a couple of years. You hope so, but
okay, here we go. I'm Kyle Madsen. That's James Ham. They are the Sacramento Kings, and they are home tonight taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee enters the game as the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. Sacramento sitting in the number 7 seed. They're a game back of Phoenix for the number 6 seed in the West, trying to snag that last playoff spot and hold on to it for dear life.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult. I mean, the Phoenix Suns are all of a sudden playing better. Devin Booker came back quick. He's already back. He's holding out for dear life, trying to make sure he plays 65 games so there's some way he can be an all-NBA player, which I don't know if he will be or not, but, he's right there trying to fight for it. They're a different team when he's there, and Kings got to figure out a way to win some difficult games here. They've got 3 in a row here that are relatively tough.
Milwaukee is in a fascinating spot. We can dive into the West in a bit, but Milwaukee is such an interesting team, because if you didn't have the standings, if you didn't have access to the standings, and all you had was access to NBA commentary and just news and opinions and thoughts, whether it's on ESPN or The Ringer or Yahoo or wherever, or maybe you listen to ESPN 1320, you would think that the Bucks were having this terrible year. you would think the Bucks were a disaster. They fired a coach and they can't figure out their defense, and they the Terry Stotts thing at the beginning of the year was weird. When he left, it was just kind of, they've just had bad vibes all year, and all you hear about is how awful their defense is. And Bobby Portis was yelling at Adrian Griffin about their defensive coverages and this and that, and then they hire Doc Rivers, and Doc Rivers is talking about how hard this job is. He wouldn't want to wish it on anybody. Everything's awful. And then you go look, and they're 42-23.
Yeah, they're right there.
They are hanging out, number 2 seed in the East, comfortably a top 3 seed. Will probably wind up as the top 2 seed.
Yeah, they're 7-2 in their last 9 games. They just got done with a 5-game win streak, 6-game win streak. Then they lost to the Warriors and the Lakers. This road trip has been a little rough for them.
Yeah.
This is their final game of a 4-game trip, but lost to the Warriors, lost to the Lakers, a win over the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
And now they draw the Kings before flying home to take on Philadelphia 76ers. Their schedule's rough. Like, they've got the Kings. Like, this is a big game for them. They've got the Kings tonight, followed by the 76ers at home, and then the Suns at home, and then the Celtics. They go to the Celtics. Like, this is a tough stretch for them. And so far, they fared really well in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of those wins, that win over the Clippers on March 4th that you mentioned, their last home game before they hit the road for this California road trip, play all 4 California teams in the same trip, but it's 5 California teams in a row for them because they played the Clippers at home before this trip.
Mm-hmm.
But even that one, they were down $1 million, and they came back to win it 113-106 with no Chris Middleton and no Giannis.
Yeah.
Like, really, really impressive stuff and a really, really impressive turnaround. But then, like you said, they go and they lose that game to the Lakers. And before that, they got mollywopped by Golden State at Chase Center, 125-90 in Giannis's return. So just a really, really up and down year. But then they come back and they go handle the Clippers and beat them by 7 down there at Crypto.Arena Staples. And and now they come here to Sacramento, and we have a clash of, now Milwaukee is better than Sacramento. They have a better record. Giannis is one of the 2 or 3 best players on the planet right now, depending on who you ask.
Yep.
And I have no idea what to make of them, in the exact same way I have no idea what to make of the Kings. The Bucks are just doing it, I think, with a higher ceiling.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, anytime you have a generational talent on your team and like a superstar scorer,
yes,
you're going to be pretty good. Like, Damian Lillard is still got plenty of juice left. And he's a guy who, even like the creation of their team, like, I think they're better with Drew Holiday for sure, but they had to, in order to get Damian Lillard, the contracts had to match up, and they had to give up Drew. I still think that, that's a huge hit to their defense. Mm-hmm. Defensively, that's been where they've been the most shaky this season. But they have all of these nice elements, man. Brook Lopez is he's a shot blocker and he's a 3-point shooter. And then you got Bobby Portis, who is like the
tough, dude.
Power forward version of Malik Monk. Yeah. He just brings it every night.
Yeah.
And he's just got so much energy and scares the bejeebas out of you, looks straight through you, like into your soul.
Almost literally.
Yeah. Like, I mean, talk about an intense dude. Yeah, they're an impressive team. And, it's like, whether or not the Kings show up, the biggest thing, they can really hit the 3. And that's a problem. Malik Beasley has been a really nice addition for them, shooting the 3. Dame can shoot the 3. You got to pick him up at half court. But then again, Brook Lopez, if you leave Brook Lopez on the perimeter, he's like 7'2". He's just going to launch right over the top of you and hit shot after shot. So it's a tough team.
They have 6 dudes shooting 38% or better from 3.
And they're legitimate.
Yeah, it's Bobby Portis at 38% on 3 attempts a game. Pat Connaughton at 38.5%, 3 attempts a game. Marjon Beauchamp doesn't play a lot. He plays 13 minutes a night, but he's at 39% on 1.6. Cam Payne no longer there, so it's 5 dudes.
Okay.
AJ Green 41% on 9.5 minutes a game, and then Malik Beasley is at 43.6% on 7 attempts a game. They have dudes who can score it, and then you have Dame, who's shooting 35% for the year. But are you ever leaving Dame Lillard open?
you're never the second he crosses half court, you have to pick him up.
He could be shooting 10% for the year, and you're checking Dame as soon as he crosses half court.
Yeah, and Dame is a guy that I think the Kings are uniquely built to handle.
Yeah.
Because they don't just have De'Aaron, who can be an elite defender,
Mhm.
but also like size-wise, it's a player that Davion Mitchell can track
Yeah.
and will pick up full court.
Mhm.
And so I like that. Even the Keon Ellis thing. I don't know. Like Keon has shown an ability to get through screens like nobody's business,
Mhm.
but you can't go under on a screen with Damian Lillard. He's gonna
Nope.
hit it every
That's-
single time.
That is asking for him to go for 40.
Yeah, and lately he's been doing that. He's been heating up. So, yeah, and they've got a tough guy like Jay Crowder. Their starting lineup: Damian Lillard, Malik Beasley. This is their projected starting lineup: Giannis, Jay Crowder, and Brook Lopez.
A lot of size there too.
Yeah, a lot of physicality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean this is a big team, and the last time these two teams played, it came down to the wire, and the Kings missed free throws, and they blew a game.
And then Dame hit a Dame shot.
Yeah, he did. I mean, this has got to stick in your head though. If you're the Kings, this is a team that you can match up with for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to go out there and you got to put them away, and in a way that you haven't been able to put other teams away.
What matchup are you watching tonight?
Fox versus Dame.
That's the one.
It is.
That's the one.
Yeah, I fully think so.
Like, all respect to the Sabonis Giannis battle that'll go on. That'll be a lot of fun. When two guards at this level go head to head, it is must-see TV. And it feels like we'll be sitting here tomorrow, and whichever of those two has a better game will be the team we're talking about winning that one.
Yeah, most likely, because while we talk about with their team and like their players that you might struggle with, they have no one who can defend De'Aaron Fox.
Not a single person.
No, without Drew Holiday there, they have no one. And if Fox needs to, this needs to be a Fox 40 game.
And by extension, you mentioned not being able to guard De'Aaron Fox. That goes for Malik Monk as well.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
That the guard play from Sacramento is, I think, going to be a real problem for Milwaukee, and I think that's a problem in a lot of matchups for the Kings. Yeah. All right. That's it. Fox versus Dame. I'm excited to watch Giannis versus Sabonis too, though. Of course.
And I like Bobby Portis and Trey Lyles. I think they'll mix it up.
Interesting.
I think that'll get a little physical, a little crazy.
Yeah, you hope so. Yeah, the Bucks better defensively lately, but I'll have a stat on their defensive rating coming up that I think will surprise you, and we'll discuss that and more next on ESPN 1320. Clear.
What's going on, everybody? Yeah.
We'll do that.
I was worried about that when I saw it sitting there. What's going on, everybody? Jay Crowder only shoots threes. He does play defense, though, although he's not as quick as he was. Super physical. Yeah, Aldrin J, I totally agree with this. I don't usually watch free agency like this. I don't know why. There was a point where I did. But yeah. Now, because I'm partnered with Kyle here, I think it's good. Plus, it allows Kyle to flex a lot of his football knowledge. 2.5. What? This feels like a long commercial break, Kyle. There you go. Do. Yeah, Zabo, I agree. I love all the movement too in the NFL. It's totally wild to watch. As someone who, loves fantasy football, like maybe we call our friend Faraz Siddiqui and get Faraz on next week to talk about the impact of all of this. Because I don't know about you guys, but like keeping up with these running backs, we'll talk about it later in the show.
So we might do that this week.
It is wild. Oh no, it is early in the week. Yeah, I'm down. Maybe Friday. Maybe we do Fantasy Friday.
Oh damn.
Oh man, it's happening. Look at us.
Look
at us. Look at us producing on the fly. You just text him?
No. No, not that. It's not that on the fly.
Yeah.
My buddy and I go through our Facebook memories and send each other our old, like, embarrassing ones.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's incredible.
Oh, George Odom back 2-year extension. Well, not back, but extended.
Oh, all right. Worth as much as $10.8 million. That's a lot for a special teamer.
Shit, they might need him to play safety this year.
Maybe.
So, like, right now, I'm grabbing that tweet and I'm going to send it to my contributor and to a couple other people at the Wire Network who can help me in the event that I can't get to this.
There you go.
Alrighty then. We have 15 seconds. What do we want to do next? Oh, I have a thing I want to get to. Okay, here we go.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
Talking Kings, talking NFL free agency. The 49ers have extended special teams ace George Odom, one of their reserve safeties as well. The 2-year extension worth up to $10 million. Tom Pelissero from NFL Media had that report first. So safety depth for the 49ers. They get a good special teams player back, although it always feels like their special teams is a little shaky. So
yeah,
fine. He's an all-pro as a special teamer. So
yeah, depth is good.
Yeah, no doubt. Can play a little safety in a pinch, but if the 49ers are in a spot where they're lining up George Odom at a ton of snaps at safety, they're probably in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, let's hope that's not the case. And that's a position I've been looking at. Like, how do the Kings improve? Can they improve?
Warriors or 49ers?
Oh, 49ers. Sorry.
Jesus.
Jeez, look at us. Yeah, the 49ers. Like, can they improve? Like, is that safety position is one that just stands out.
Yeah, man. That safety spot is weird because they drafted Jair Brown. They trade up to draft Jair Brown last year. It was supposed to be a kind of red shirt year for him behind Talanoa Hufanga and behind Tayshaun Gibson. But then Hufanga's ACL tear pushes Brown into the starting lineup. He was okay as a starter, acquitted himself, I think, well enough to be a starter going into this year. But then Hufanga's coming off an ACL tear going into the final season of his rookie contract. And he tore that ACL in week 11. So his readiness for week 1 is in question.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like he'll definitely be ready to go with where we're at with ACL tears. Now, he should, barring any setbacks, be able to play at some point this season. So are you going out and are you signing a big name free agent to start? Or are you going and drafting a player and starting a rookie and a second-year player with not a ton of experience? Are you banking on Hufanga coming back by week 1? That's a really, really tough call. And then are you re-signing Hufanga? Is the plan to jettison him after this year when he's a free agent?
It's complex,
that's a tough
man.
one, dude.
It's complex.
It's a really, really tough one.
There are some really, really good safeties out there though.
Yeah, they just don't have the problem is, and this is a lot of what I saw yesterday from the 49ers side of the internet, is like they need to do more. They're not doing enough. They haven't done anything. Like they don't last year they created cap flexibility by restructuring a bunch of their expensive contracts. So they kicked that can down the road. They kicked that money down the road. Restructuring a deal does not make the cap hit go away. It moves it to a different year.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, the cost of all those restructures is going to catch up with them, i.e. this year.
Well, they were bailed out a little bit by the salary cap jumping tremendously.
Yes, that's a great point. Yeah. That is something I'm sure they weren't banking on. And that's helpful for sure, but it doesn't they can't just restructure a bunch of guys again this year and call it good and have a bunch of cap space to make this splash signing. They've got to be shrewd. They've got to fill out the margins of their roster. Like here's the thing, they have the star talent. Star power is not the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like them to go get a top end safety? Would you like them to go get Justin Simmons or something? Like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
He'd be a good player in the back end of their secondary. And maybe there's not a market for him and he comes in on a 1 year, $8 million deal or whatever it is. And then that's fine. But I don't think they're going to go make a multi-year signing of a safety given where they're at contract-wise. I think that's the same thing you're going to see at defensive tackle. I think it's the same thing you're going to see at cornerback. I think you'll see them continue filling out spots on the margins and on the edges of the roster, but I don't think there's a big splash coming. And frankly, I don't think they need it.
Yeah.
They're fine. Their roster's really good.
It's intriguing though, because you're always left wondering, and last season they did make some changes during the season. They added Chase Young, they added Randy Gregory. They were able to go, sort of fill out some of the roster mid-season, and maybe that's something they do again.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something, during this year that they can attack and go, add as they figure out what their weaknesses are. Because there's always players available. It's just a matter of, how do you piece it together?
Yeah.
It's not easy, man. Especially when you're dealing with a salary cap, which is what, over 200 million at this point. Not only that, but you're dealing with a 53-man roster that expands and contracts. It's just so many more moving parts and so much more complicated than, an NBA team that's straight up 15 players.
Yeah.
Potential for 3 extra 2-way contracts. The salaries are guaranteed. Yeah, it is a soft cap. Yeah. It's very, very different than watching the NFL.
Yeah, the cap this year in the NFL, $255.4 million.
255?
Yeah.
Whew.
That's wild.
They're making some cash, Kyle.
They're doing all right.
Yeah.
They're doing okay for sure. Yeah, I just this notion that, because Raider fans aren't going to be complaining. At least I don't think they should be. They're in a really good spot to continue that incremental growth and building something that's more sustainable than just trying to go all in to make the playoffs in 1 year. And that's great. But then you've got Niner fan who's like, man, where's Danielle Hunter? Why aren't they going and getting Bryce Huff? Or why aren't they making one of these big time signings? Hey, all these running backs are on the move. You can go get one of those. I don't think that's a realistic thing. I don't think they're going to go spend big money on the offensive line. You mentioned that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to go spend money at right tackle or at guard. I think they might sign a tackle or a guard, a cheaper one, but I think they'd rather go into the draft, use a first round pick on a tackle, a flexible tackle who can play guard or on the outside.
Okay.
And you have Colton McKivitz who can do that, who can do both. You have Spencer Burford. Maybe you re-sign John Feliciano who can kind of play wherever on the line. And you draft somebody else a little bit later, and then you just piece it together in camp.
Yeah, watching some of the offensive linemen get paid yesterday, and it's not even like tackles. Tackles are now, if you're going to get a great tackle, it's going to cost you 20 mil.
At least.
But then guards getting 12 to 15 million a year. It's like, oh man.
Robert Hunt from Miami.
Yeah.
Was a player that when you go and read like free agency best fits kind of thing, he was often paired with the 49ers. He got 5 years and $100 million.
For a guard.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's a lot. And I know guarantees matter and this and that. It just in general though, the $20 million AAV for a guard is crazy. the average annual value.
Yeah. And I think when you're looking at the draft, you can find guards in the second and third rounds.
No doubt.
And so why not? Because they're cheap.
The 49ers' 2 starting guards last year to start the season were second-round pick Aaron Banks and fourth-round pick Spencer Burford.
Okay.
So that, just to your point, that's literally what they've done. Jake Brendel was a journeyman who they signed and wound up finding a starting center. Like, you can find these pieces for sure, but at some point, to me, and this is where I have a little bit of a gripe with what the Niners are doing, at some point, I think they needed defensive end help, and I think Floyd and Gross Matos are the two. I think Floyd got $20 million, $12 million guaranteed, and it could get as high as 24. Gross Matos was like 2 and 18. I don't know the guarantees.
Yeah.
But those are cheap. Those are cheap defensive end deals, and they're probably both going to be rotational pieces. And that's great. I think that fits the bill.
Plus, you got a 31-year-old
that
Leonard
Floyd.
Yeah, who started 99 consecutive games.
Yeah.
Well, not started. He's played 90. He's 98 of the last 99 he started.
Yeah.
But he's played in, again, 99 consecutive games.
He hasn't missed a game since 2017.
Yeah, that's a big deal because especially when you look at Armstead, when you look at some of the other issues that they've had on that line, guys who can play every single day are a big bonus.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but you back that up with a 26-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So not only do you have your veteran presence, but also maybe a guy that's got more room to grow, that in a setting where, Bosa's on the outside, maybe he can get to the quarterback more than like 4.5 times a game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of like what they're doing, but again, you're playing on the margins. This is like the equivalent of the Kings going out and adding like a 8th man, 9th man in the rotation. And they probably do need a little bit more, but I don't know. You're right. Star power's there. Like, you kept your offense intact at this point. Like load up on defensive linemen, load up on offensive linemen, load up on defensive backs in the draft. And maybe you got to draft a linebacker because you got some questions, with the blown Achilles. But
for Dre Greenlaw.
For Dre Greenlaw. So yeah, I mean, I think they're doing okay right now.
Yeah, man, they need to. You mentioned the draft, and we've been talking a lot of free agency. And again, we'll have any new free agency news for you. We'll have it for you right here on ESPN 1320. But they need to start hitting on some of their draft picks. Nick Bosa is the only first-round pick for the 49ers in the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch era to sign a second contract with the team. Brandon Ayuk, ideally would do that this offseason, but that is very much up in the air and not a guarantee at all. And like, you go to last season, they draft 2 tight ends. Neither makes any kind of significant impact in year one. They've drafted a ton of defensive linemen and brought in a ton of defensive linemen, and yet still we're sitting here, assuming Eric Armstead winds up getting released, going, man, they need at least 2, maybe 3 defensive tackles. They probably need another defensive end or 2.
Yeah,
they've dumped a lot of it's been quantity over quality on the offensive line, I think, outside of the Trent Williams addition, and they spent a 2nd-round pick on Aaron Banks, which has turned out to be okay. But other than that, they're kind of just throwing a lot of darts at the board on the offensive line and hoping a couple of them stick. And you can piece that together. That patchwork thing works in a 17-game regular season, where you're game planning for different opponents every week, and you can kind of, mix it and match it. But then you get into a big game, whether it's against the Los Angeles Rams or the Philadelphia Eagles or the Kansas City Chiefs, twice. And in every single one of those games, you can point to some fault on the offensive line being the reason that the 49ers, or a key reason that the 49ers lost those games. And that's where I'm going, man, I know they don't have big time resources to dump into the offensive line, but that they haven't made any move there yet is a little bit of a concern. And to me, going into this year's draft, I think you have 11 picks. I don't think they'll use 11. Let's say they wind up making some moves and they wind up with 8 picks.
Yep.
If you're not using 3 of those on offensive linemen,
at a minimum,
maybe 1 on each day of the draft.
Yeah.
And giving yourself the maximum amount of quality darts to throw at that dartboard, I don't think, winning next year is going to be nigh impossible anyway, right?
Yeah.
And you don't lose a Super Bowl and then just go back and win a Super Bowl. So next year, I'm not taking it off the table necessarily. That's just a really, really steep hill to climb. And then if you're also going to try and do that, we'll also go like, yeah, hey, Colton McKivitz will roll him out there at right tackle again. We're going to give Spencer Burford another shot at right guard and see if he can hold that down. He's been 0 for 2 in his career of holding down that starting job, by the way. They've rotated guys in with him in his first 2 years. If you're just if you're rolling with that, all right, man, just punt the season entirely then.
It's tough because you're looking at the offensive line as like a house of cards too.
Exactly.
Because the only thing holding that thing up is Trent Williams. And he's what, 36?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
he's mid-30s.
Yeah, I mean, that's a problem. I mean, when you're looking at him as the guy, and you don't have a replacement for him, man.
Trent Williams turns 36 before next season.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he turns 36 in July. There we go. Yeah, that's a problem. I mean, you need to have what's next.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you need to have what's next at that position and what's better at like 3 others. And maybe you can piece it together. Maybe you can. But as of right now, man, like when these offensive linemen are coming up for grabs on the open market, you have to consider it. It's why we looked at the Vikings deal last year with who is the guard that they traded.
Oh my God.
For like a 5th or 6th round pick at the deadline.
There's a Vikings offensive lineman that's stuck in my brain who it's not him.
Yeah.
It's something with a Z.
Yeah. So that was one of those guys where you're like, hey, look, what are you doing here? I mean, Kings, the 49ers were attached to him.
Kevin Zeitler, I believe it was.
Yeah. At some point, but like you have to get better on that side of the ball. That's where games are won and lost. Especially when you have so many star level specialty players. If you can't keep Brock Purdy upright, then you're going to be in trouble.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yep. Yeah, that's why I've said. That's why I think re-signing Brandon Ayuk is paramount. Because okay, let's look. Obviously, they want to contend this year. Like I totally get that, and they want to do that, and they're going to try to do that. Again, when you lose the Super Bowl, it is very, very difficult to just turn around and go back. So let's just wipe out 2024. You're now looking at 2025 when Brock Purdy might be making big time money.
Yeah.
Or top 10 type of money where he's making 40 plus million a year. And now you're looking at a scenario where over the next 2 to 3 years, Deebo Samuel's gone. George Kittle is gone. Christian McCaffrey is going to be entering his 30s.
Yeah.
And will likely become less effective at some point. Trent Williams is going to be gone. And look, I think Brock Purdy, I think he is certainly better than the what's the dude from The Ringer? The Stephen Ruiz.
Yeah, Stephen Ruiz.
I certainly think he's better than that, but I also don't think that he's Patrick Mahomes, where it's like, yeah, give him Rashee Rice and a couple of traffic cones at receiver and he'll figure it out. Like, no, man, I don't think that's this. So at some point you have to be propping up your quarterback at least a little bit to give him the space to operate at the level that he did last season. That includes the offensive line, that includes re-signing Brandon Ayuk, that includes while also trying to navigate all this, ensuring that you are restocking your offensive weaponry.
Yeah.
It's all great that they're trying to compete this year and trying to contend this year, and I understand that that's the goal, and they have to do that. They have one of the best rosters in the league. You have to try and win a Super Bowl this year. But I don't think that means dumping all your resources into other areas, cornerback, defensive end, safety, whatever else, whatever other linebacker, whatever other position we've talked about, and going, yeah, well, hey, we'll figure it out on the offensive line. Because you've been trying to figure it out on the offensive line for nearly a decade. None of it has worked.
Yeah. And like all that you're talking about, it's just, this is why we talk about windows. Why we talk about the window, trying to prop the window open as long as possible and that it's closing. And then you'll have another window, but it's down the road. But you have to, almost do the 2 timeline thing. You have to fight for the team that's potentially going to the Super Bowl right now, but also what's left after all of these stars are gone.
Yeah.
And all of those stars aren't going to be around much longer. Like there's, maybe 2, maybe 3 years. I don't think there's any way Trent Williams plays until he's 38, 39, 40. Maybe, but I don't think so. And you're just looking at this, like, how do you piece it together and push forward with a group? And you have to be thinking about that, rebuilding the entire time. And you can't keep missing. You can't keep wasting 3rd round picks on on running backs that don't make it, or what do they spend? A 4th round pick on a kicker last year?
Third
Third
round
yeah,
pick.
that that's, if you're gonna do that, you're just leaving a door open for your window to close because you neglected an entire segment of your team, which is one of the most important like departments possible.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's wild.
I don't understand it. Ezra Cleveland was the offensive lineman we were looking for.
Okay.
That was really going to bother me because Kevin Zeitler was not it.
Yeah,
I knew there was a Z in his name, but it's Ezra Cleveland. Oh, thank God. Oh, that was really going to bug me all day.
Mm.
All right. Anyways, he got traded to Jacksonville.
Yep.
I believe he's a free agent. I don't know if he re-signed. He might have re-signed. Anyways. All right. Hey, tonight, coming up for you.
Oh.
March Madness is not fully underway, but boy, we are certainly close. And we've got a couple of college basketball games for you. The first one, 3:45, the Coastal Athletic Association Championship. You're not going to want to miss that one. That's on 102.5 HD2 The Bet Sacramento. And then right here on ESPN 1320 at 5:45, the WCC Championship. That's also on 98.5 FM HD2, your smart speaker, and the free Odyssey app. While we're talking apps, I want to remind you that the James Ham and Kyle Madsen show, that's this show, that's this program. That is available on a podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
Podcast form.
We do a podcast of this show where we upload it, but because of some legal stuff that goes way above my head, I didn't pass the bar. I don't know. They had to call it the James Ham and Kyle Madsen show, and you can download and subscribe on the free Odyssey app or wherever you procure your podcast fix. Yeah, go download that. We upload each hour. We upload the whole show. We got some little clips. Charlie O is on there.
Mm-hmm.
He posts these like just little quick hitter headlines you need to know, like stories you need to know. Really, really valuable if you've got a quick little jog or a couple of errands to run.
There we go.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff on the James Ham and Kyle Madsen show podcast feed, as well as the D-Lo and KC podcast feed. Make sure you're subscribing to all of that and checking out all of our content. And of course, subscribing on YouTube and Twitch, youtube.com/ESPN1320 and twitch.tv/ESPN1320.
Kyle, when do we stop using the word breaking? Like, isn't
that's a great
for me?
question.
Is it like? I mean, I guess it's breaking news, but like,
go on.
Jordan Schultz just tweeted breaking news. Breaking. Free agent running back DJ Dallas plans to sign with the Arizona Cardinals. Sources tell Bleacher Report. The former Seahawks special team ace is only 25 years old and now finds a new home in Arizona. I don't want to be disrespectful to DJ Dallas, but like, is that breaking?
No.
Is that like?
I mean, technically, here's my.
We do also have the 49ers have reportedly restructured Fred Warner's contract to save $10 million in cap space.
Yeah, it happened yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, we had that yesterday. Man, I don't want to. I have a lot to say on this that I'm going to not say.
Okay.
But yes, breaking is an overused term in news breaking and on the internet. I definitely think that it is dramatically overused. I also think that, like, let's remove player from this and let's just take Jordan Schultz here, NFL insider for Bleacher Report. He's trying to make a name, right? He's trying to carve his niche in NFL insiderdom. It's really tough to do. Credit to him for doing that.
Yes.
He's going to put breaking on all of his stuff because he wants it to be a big deal. He wants it to be out there, and that's fine. What I don't like is when people who do what I do. Okay, I run a blog. I talk to people, but I don't break news.
Got it.
I aggregate. I write my thoughts. That's what the point of my blog is. I'm not a newsbreaker. When people who are in the space I'm in, when somebody, Jordan Schultz, Adam Schefter, Tom Pelissero, Ian Rappaport, whoever it is, tweet after that news come out, let's say Jordan Schultz says the 49ers have extended Brandon Ayuk 4 years, $120 million. Let's just say that. And then somebody in my space goes, breaking, Brandon Ayuk extended on 4-year, $120 million contract per Jordan Schultz or NFL Insider. It's like, bro, you didn't break that.
No.
You're not breaking. That's just news that's happening. I think breaking should be reserved for the newsbreakers, and then I also think it should be reserved for like big news.
I also
DJ Dallas is fine, but come on.
Yeah, I know that like when I put source, Kings do whatever.
Right.
Right. But then you see other people use it like source, this is happening. It's like, but you don't have the source.
Right.
Like
it's my source.
that's my source.
I did that.
I did that. And I, then you go to that and they give you credit, but then they don't link what you wrote or your article or your tweet.
Oh, the worst, dude.
You're like,
or they screenshot your tweet and they put it in a graphic that they then post.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Or they add dots when you say something on a radio interview.
That's a separate problem.
Yeah.
But in the age of, and this is just a media bitching session, so buckle up. In the age of people making money off Twitter, I think that kind of stuff that I just outlined and that you just outlined should be illegal.
Huh.
Genuinely.
Yeah.
If I buy a blue check mark and you have yours and you tweet breaking news, the Kings have traded for Zach LaVine. Shout out to RP in the chat. You tweet that, and then I screenshot your tweet, and let's say you get 500 retweets. I screenshot your tweet, I put it in a graphic of Zach LaVine, and I post it, Kings trade for Zach LaVine per James. This is a hypothetical scenario, by the way. If you're just tuning in and catching this all out of context, I'm speaking in hypotheticals. And you tweet, and I send this out, and it just gets picked up by the right people, and I get 200,000 retweets of your news.
Oh yeah.
I get the cash from that in this new space. I think that's stupid, and I think it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah. Well, what about when they steal your video?
Dude, I had when the Kings played the Pistons.
Yep.
And the Kings game ops played on loop while introducing the Pistons, the Brandon Ayuk diving catch against the Lions.
Yep.
And I tweeted a video of that, and it just got picked up by everything.
Yeah.
SportsCenter, Bleacher Report, John Boy, random 49ers content creators. It just got picked up everywhere. And I'm looking at all these people, and I'm like, dang, man. They're just getting paid off my video. That's crazy.
Anytime you see the meme of Mike Brown going, they just clipped that right off my video.
Dang.
Like, it is what it is.
I know it's the space. Like, that's the thing, is like, it's just kind of the game. The game is the game, right?
We do have
more news.
Yeah, we
Breaking
do.
news?
Ravens free agent Patrick McQueen told Marcus Spears that he plans to sign a 3-year, $41 million contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh my God.
He didn't just leave, he left and went to the enemy.
NFC North drama, baby.
That is
and the Steelers needed a linebacker. Good for Mike Tomlin.
Oof.
Man, that's a nice little ad for them. They haven't had a good linebacker in God knows how long.
Mm-hmm.
They had a good linebacker since, gosh. Boy. What was their last? It's not been in the last 5 years, I don't think.
No, it's like the era where they had like all of the incredible.
Right? It was Ryan Shazier that era before he got hurt.
Like going back to Lloyd.
I got nothing for you.
Yeah. They've definitely have had some great linebackers over the decades.
Yeah, but they haven't had a really good off-ball linebacker in it feels like a long time.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Do we have to break?
Yeah, no, we sure do. We have to break. We're not going to break down the Steelers defense any longer. I have a Kings question for you, and I think it's a little bit of a tough one. We'll talk about it next on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader.
Greg Lloyd and James Harrison. Too old for you?
They were all a while ago still.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. James got them for me. Yeah.
Joey Porter. Oh.
Again, long time ago.
Is this the same as yesterday's?
No, those. If you look, Saturday and Sunday's been out.
Oh, cool. All right. Oh.
Sorry, we had nothing going on.
Finally got my physical therapy appointment.
All right. For your shoulder?
Yeah. What the?
Oops. All right, 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
I might hit sauce before the game again.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go home and nap
Oh, nice.
because the back-to-back's gonna kill me here.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
And then tomorrow, I don't have any. Like my entire schedule's booked. I don't know.
No,
I
not
don't
gonna
know.
have a nap time.
If I go home, take a nap today, then I can leave the house by 3-ish. Get 3:30. Get down by 4:30. I don't know. I did not dress to go to the game.
Oh yeah. See, this is how my headphones get broken.
You're what?
I said this is how my headphones get broken.
They get hung up in the chair.
Mm-hmm. And then they fly off.
Can you shorten the cable?
Nope. I mean, I probably could, but I just need to get it out of here.
Those have
Oh,
a.
here we go.
Oh.
Yeah, man. Hour number two. Hour number 2 on a Tuesday. He's James. I'm Kyle. Talking NFL free agency. We were talking Kings Bucks. I have a question for you regarding the Sacramento Kings and this whole playing up and down to the competition thing.
Okay.
2 things on it. One, let's start here. One, I think that's kind of a like easy answer to, yeah, that's just not that good of a team. Because every time the 49ers have been like that at points in my life. We go, man, they just really, if they play up to the competition or down to the competition, man, I just kind of think they're just not. They're
Okay.
just kind of there. It means you're just right in the middle.
Yeah, I think that that's what it does mean. It doesn't mean that you're not a good team. It means that you're not a.
You're not bad.
You're not a bad team. You're just not a great team.
Yeah, you're just
Like if that's who you are,
coasting.
like there isn't. I mean, I'm sure we could look through the course of time and see a team that lost a bunch of games against bad teams, but beat all the good teams and went on to win NBA championship. Maybe.
Maybe.
But just like that trait in a team is frustrating. There are certain traits in a team that Kyle, when they show up and they don't go away, and then it becomes like who you are, the fabric of who you are in a season.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's nothing more jarring than that. Like I can honestly tell you right now, the Sacramento Kings are not a good home team. Despite the fact that they have an incredible crowd, that they have, like, to me, one of the best fan bases, if not the best, in the NBA, that the building is packed every single night. If you can't draw energy from a crowd, and now the Kings at home this season, they're 17-12. That's not good enough.
Mm-mm.
In order for this team to take the step, they needed to win 30 games at home.
That's literally the number we said at the beginning of this year.
Yeah, and now at 17-12, you're looking at a team that's 29 games. They've got
Maximum.
12 games left. The best they could win if they swept everybody is 29, and it's more likely that they're going to win 24. And
Yeah.
that's bad.
That's not good.
That's what they did last year.
Mhm.
It wasn't good enough.
Mhm.
And that's where, like, we talk about like internal improvement and how can you get better without, like, you could get better with just like being a little bit better defensively. They could have got better this season. And then the other way for them to get way better was to take care of home court advantage. Like, there's no reason for that. There's no reason that you're 19-15 on the road and 17-12 at home.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, and I think it's interesting that the Kings have like so many home games left. So like they've only got 19 games left, and 12 of them are at home.
Mhm.
But that doesn't reassure anybody. Like that's not good. I'm talking. I just said right there. I think they'll win 24, 25. That means they're going to win 7 or maybe 8 of the remaining 12, and that's not. I don't even think percentage wise that's just what they're on pace to win. That's not good. And so, yeah, I mean, we talk about these things like, taking care of business at home or beating bad teams. Like, these are things that, like, they seep into your identity. And then once they're there, it's really tough to change it during a season.
It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point.
Yeah, totally.
It's just like you said that Domas acknowledged it.
Yeah.
That here we go again feeling.
Mm.
And when you're at home and you're
at home and you got a rowdy crowd. I mean,
Right.
this place is packed. Like,
Yeah.
they keep adding seats to Golden One Center.
Yeah, man.
Like, I've never seen anything like it. It's like, hey, look, where did that whole section just come from?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't quite get it. And I'm just kind of at a loss because this is 2 years of this now.
Yeah.
I went in this year. If you had told me to pick like one thing I was really sure of with the Kings, like, well, they'll be better at home for sure.
Yep.
Like, that's just going to happen. Maybe they get a little worse on the road, but man, I think they're going to be really hard to beat at home. They're just not. They lose to the Pistons and the Hornets.
Yeah.
Like, what? They struggle with the Spurs twice.
Yeah.
Once without Victor Wembanyama.
They lose to the Bulls.
They lost to the Bulls.
I mean,
In a game you're up big.
yeah.
I don't know what it is, man. It's the oddest thing. The other thing that I circle back to with this, and I don't know exactly where I land, but part of me wonders if the Kings are the team that the good teams are playing down to.
Oh,
Like, did the Bucks see the Kings and go, all right? Or
Boy. That's tough. I didn't even think about that. Like, did the Denver Nuggets
go, nah,
play down to the level?
right? And then when they go, oh, they're going to sweep us. Okay, hang on. Let's put this game.
Let's make sure they
understand
understand who we are and who they are.
And that's kind of what. And I think there's a big enough sample size of the Kings playing well against them that we go, okay, well, that's not necessarily it, but I think it's something you have to consider.
That's harsh.
And
Yeah,
I don't. But that's the thing is they're not. And please don't take it this way. They're not the Wizards. They're not the
No.
Spurs. Like, they're not that. They are firmly and should be in the tier that they're in, where they're in that kind of third tier of team that's battling for that final playoff spot. Like, that's, I think, right about where they are.
I think last season, very specifically, I felt like a lot of teams they didn't run their A team out there every single night against the Kings.
Yeah.
I felt like, you play a team on a Tuesday night and they might, I think one time the Lakers sat LeBron. You play the Clippers and they're going to sit a couple of guys. You play and you kind of went around the league and like, okay, like how many times did you play Embiid? Like maybe once, and how many times did you? Like, I think Giannis sat out one of the games.
Yeah. I think they lost the game that Giannis sat out
Yeah.
at home.
Those are I think it was at home. I think those are the games where you're like, okay, like, look, I think there is a possibility. And this year, more often than not, I know we keep thinking of, oh, you played a team that was missing players. Most of those games are against bad teams. Like, it wasn't just that they lost to the Pistons.
Yeah.
Like, Cade Cunningham didn't play in that game, and neither did like one or two of their other players.
Mhm.
Like, that wasn't your A team.
And then they cut a
it's
bunch of dudes the next day.
It's an F team, and you lost to an F team without their A squad. So you're playing a team that's not good, and they didn't even bring everybody, and they still beat you. And so
Yeah.
those are the games where you're just like really frustrated with this group that
Mhm.
that there just isn't like a focus on the moment. And I wrote in our notes, because we always do our we scoreboard watch, right? And I
Yeah.
wrote under the Mavs Bulls, Mavs 127, Bulls 92. The Mavs are a mess, and they've been a mess all season long, and they're going to be a mess because that's just who they are. But I wrote my note. This is what taking care of business looks like.
Yeah, you just put the screws to a worse team.
That's a team that isn't that far below the Mavs in the standings, the Bulls, and they throttled them and said, okay, look, and this is who we are tonight. We're going to beat you because you're not a very good team.
Mhm.
And you go look at the Bulls, it's the same exact team they ran against the Kings a week and a half ago and beat the Kings.
And throttled the Warriors at Chase Center.
Yeah.
Not
So,
throttled, just beat 'em.
I mean, I guess that happens, like where teams that aren't very good,
Mhm.
figure out a way. But it just feels like more often than not, it's the Kings that it happens to.
Yeah. It's inexplicable to me.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, this all circles back to why, and we've talked about this ad nauseum this year, why it's very likely this team is going to look significantly different next season.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah.
But I also hope so, for a while now.
Just talent wise, mindset wise, I think there's a dramatic change that needs to happen if they're going to take that leap.
Yeah, you've gone through 3 full, trade areas.
Mm-hmm.
A trade deadline followed by an offseason, followed
Mhm.
by a trade deadline where you did not make any marked improvement at all to the roster.
And honestly, I could kind of see, I could hear the argument last trade deadline for sure. I could even hear the argument this offseason. I didn't really agree with it, but it's like, okay, I'll hear that out.
Yeah.
Even at this trade deadline, you could, I think, make the argument like, okay, well, hey, De'Aaron's been a little slow lately. He'll bounce back. Herter's shot's going to start falling. Keegan's going to start being more aggressive, and want to see what this looks like. I'll even at this point now, dude, I'm ready to.
Well, it's the same.
I don't hear the arguments anymore.
No, and
I can't see it.
And at the trade deadline, you knew that JaVale McGee wasn't a true answer. You knew that Chris Duarte wasn't a true answer, and you really should have known that Sasha Vezenkov, injury, no injury, wasn't like the solution to all your problems.
Yep.
So how do you manage that? And you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
You ignored it.
Yeah.
And so this is what that looks like.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
Keep running into the same problem. At some point, you're the problem. All right. Let's talk Kings Bucks. Keys to victory. How do the Kings play up to the level of their competition tonight? We'll talk about that next on the Insiders. It's ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. Where?
Serial connection. He doesn't hate
funny,
the
dude.
Kings. He doesn't hate the Kings.
Son of a.
Son of a nutcracker. James, if they run it back, you think Monty's on the hot seat? I'm not I don't know who's on the hot seat and who's not on the hot seat at this point, but I don't like going into a post trade deadline news conference with Monty McNair where he's talking about offense, and Mike Brown only talks about defense.
Mm.
And so I think that was an issue. And then the news coming out after the trade deadline, oh, the Kings are going to focus on defensive-minded players going forward. And again, like there's some sort of disconnect, I think. And I can honestly tell you, I've only talked to Monty outside of that press conference like one other time, like off the record the entire season. That's it. Like he has not been visible. I don't know. Yeah, Soren. Monty was saying that the offense needs to be better. And I agree. I agree. If you're going to put offensive-minded players on a team, then you need to crank up the offense, and that needs to be their identity. I hate being...
This is a great topic. I did the research for this very topic.
I hate being 64 games into a season, whatever it is, and not knowing the identity of a team. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Right back.
How much time do we have? Oh.
Actually, you know what? I'm not going to be right back.
You're staying here?
Actually, I think there's a...
Oh, there is. It's right on the corner of that.
They're locked in.
I don't... Huh.
30 seconds.
Who is this?
Kevin Herter.
I guess.
Don't get high on your own supply.
I don't agree with this at all.
Oh. The Sacramento Kings in action tonight against Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Buccaneers. I'm joking. Just the Bucks.
Just the Bucks.
I'm Kyle Madsen. That's James Ham. Keegan Murray questionable for the Kings tonight. Sasha Vezenkov remains out. Giannis Antetokounmpo, he is probable. Chris Middleton and Marjan Beauchamp are both questionable. And that is your Kings pregame injury report. Nailed it.
There it is.
All right.
It does look like Keegan Murray is participating in shoot around this morning, which is a good thing. And we will have to see how that looks later in the evening.
Mhm.
But he's a guy who doesn't miss a lot of games.
Yeah. I imagine he'll play. That's where I'm leaning.
It looked
Although
like
I'm
a
not
pretty
sure-
good ankle roll when it happened.
Yeah.
Like it was like ooh.
And also I'm not sure a night off would be the worst thing for him.
No.
Just to dude, watch some hoop.
Yeah.
Kick your feet up.
I don't
maybe
know.
literally maybe elevate that ankle.
I don't know what you do if he doesn't play.
A lot of Kessler Edwards.
Possibly Kessler Edwards, maybe Trey Lyles as a starter.
Little Trey Lyles. I like that.
Yeah, Trey Lyles
Good
as a
point.
starter. I could see that being something that you do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Harrison Barnes on Giannis Antetokounmpo is not something that our bingo card wants to see.
That's correct. All right. Let's get to keys to victory. How do the Kings pull off a dub tonight? James Ham, your first key to a Sacramento Kings victory.
Hit your shots.
Oh, yeah.
You
Make
live,
or miss league,
Yeah, this is a team that lives by the 3 and dies by the 3. You probably need to live by the 3 if you're going to beat the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
That's it. Like if
Yep.
you're a team that's who you are, then you got to figure out a way to do it. You got to hit your shots. Enough excuses, enough like the 6 for 32 last game. That's just, it's just it can't be who you are.
No, I'm right there with you. You need and A, you need to hit your shots, but B, this gets to a bigger kind of conversation that we can have another day. But you need another pitch.
Yeah.
You can't be, hey, threes didn't fall tonight. We didn't have a chance to win. Like you need you need another pitch, and I think they have one. We saw it in LA. I know they knocked down some threes in that game, but it was De'Aaron Fox getting inside. They're at their best when Malik Monk is getting in the paint. That is their second pitch. It's just if you're going 6 for 32 from three, I don't care what you're doing. You're probably not going to win if you can't get stops. And I think that's again larger conversation.
Yeah. So come out, hit your shots, like focus, whatever it is you need to do, hit your shots.
Yep. My first key piggybacks off that one purposely. You lost to this team a couple months ago because you didn't make free throws. Make your free throws. Get to the line and knock them down. Make all your shots.
Yeah, I think so. People don't forget. I believe it was Malik Monk who missed 2 and De'Aaron Fox who missed 1 in the final 17 seconds of the game.
Yes.
And you lost on a buzzer beater by Damian Lillard that if you would have just hit your shots, you would have won.
Hit your free throws.
Hit your free throws. Hit your free throws.
Let me get back to overtime here. The final seconds of overtime, you're right. You had Malik Monk, made both. Fox made both there. Nope, that's the fourth quarter. Here we go. Malik Monk missed 2 free throws with 18 seconds left in a 4-point game.
Yep.
Brooke Lopez hits a 3 to make it a 1-point game with 11 seconds left. Malik Beasley fouls De'Aaron Fox. Fox misses the front end, makes the second one to make it a 2-point game with 5 seconds left. Damian Lillard for 3 in the win.
From 36 feet?
This says 32 feet.
32. That might make sense.
Yeah. It was a deep one, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Second left his hand, you knew it was in.
Yeah.
Well, game
100%.
over.
100%. All right. Number 2.
Number 2 for me. Make Dame work.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a good defender.
Nope.
He wasn't a good defender when he was 24 years old. Make him work like crazy. De'Aaron Fox needs to torch him.
Mm-hmm.
And if they try something crazy, like try to move Jay Crowder over to defend you, oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just run by him. De'Aaron Fox needs to attack the rim. And I think the one thing is that Brooke Lopez will be waiting for him. Giannis Antetokounmpo will be waiting in the key. Okay, hit your mid-range jumper, hit your floater, whatever it is, or just go right at them and get to the rim and show the explosion that we've seen earlier in the season. Like, go score.
One of the best ways to defend Damian Lillard is by making him work on defense.
Oh, yeah.
And even that might not work. But if you're letting him take the night off on that end, it's A, you're not exploiting the weakest part of the Bucks defense, and B, you're giving him a better opportunity to kill you on the offensive end. I think that's a really good point by you. Number 2 for me, don't let Giannis dominate this one. Domantas Sabonis is one of the very best centers in the league, and there's not a lot of players I think that can give Giannis problems. It's not that Giannis can be pushed around super easy. I don't think that's necessarily the case. But in the same way you got to make Dame work, I think you got to make Giannis work. You got to make him move around. You got to make him feel you underneath the basket. And I think that the Domas is one of very few bigs in the league who can do that in a game against Giannis.
Yeah, and I think you need to make Giannis into a jump shooter. So, I mean, Giannis is a guy who, if you really, he can shoot, he can score in a bunch of different ways, but the fact that he shoots 29.7% from 3 and he's a 28.8% shooter for his career, like, make him beat you from there. And I know that's really difficult because he's always, doesn't matter where he's at on the court, he's 2 steps away from the rim. And that's even from half court. He's 2 steps away from the rim. So you got to deal with that, but wall him off, and then don't just let everybody on this team beat you from 3, because they will. They're a good 3-point shooting team.
I have a thought on Giannis, the 3-point shooter, but I'm afraid to say it lest he goes 6 for 6 from beyond the arc tonight.
Mm,
But typically,
don't say it.
for
You-
most teams, not the Kings, but for most teams, any Bucks possession that ends with a Giannis 3, it's like, hey, did the job.
Yep,
But it's the Kings.
it is.
So I wanted to see when the last time was Giannis made more than two. He has made more than 2 threes in a game once this year.
What?
And it was a win against the Knicks in November.
Oh,
He's only made 2 threes 4 times. He's made more than 1 3-pointer in a game 5 times this year.
oof. But I just don't know how you
Buddy.
stop him.
I would put a bankroll on him hitting 3 or 4 tonight.
All right. You're taking the prize pick.
I'll take whatever the more is in prize picks.
Okay.
I'm taking it. I'm taking it for Giannis from beyond the arc tonight. What's your third key?
My third key is fear Bobby Portis.
Dude.
Bobby Portis he's a baller. He really is a very, very fierce basketball player.
Love him.
He's averaging 13.2 points, 7.1 rebounds off the bench. Plays about 24 minutes a night. He shoots 38% from 3. He's just crazy and intense. And in all honesty, he's a guy that you got to figure out a way to limit his imprint that he puts on a game. Because if you can do that, it does wipe out a lot of the energy that they have on the court.
I love Bobby Portis so much. Loved him since Arkansas. And the fact that he's been playing really well lately just really warms my heart. I'm so glad he found a home in Milwaukee.
I want him to get angry at somebody so he stares him down. Because Bobby Portis' stare down is like, I think it can actually kill people.
It's kind of cartoonish.
Yeah, you're waiting for his eyes to like pop out of his head
Yeah.
and like attack you.
Yeah. Very intense, dude.
Yeah,
Got a lot of dog in him for sure.
Very, very intense. He's the type of player that the Kings could really, 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 really use.
Yeah, and the type of player that the Kings could really, 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 really struggle with.
Yeah.
A versatile player
Long.
with good size.
Yeah.
He can shoot it. He can score it inside. A little bit of a float game now, apparently. I saw him bust that out against the Clippers. I would fearing Bobby Portis is something the Kings need to do, and they need to make sure that he's not cooking. That's a great, great key by you. Last one for me. Outbench them. This Bucks team is not super deep, and the Kings, when they are at their best, have a bench of Keon Ellis, of Davion Mitchell, it's Trey Lyles, it's Malik Monk, all of those guys. They don't need to score a bunch necessarily, but you just got to play well. And I think when the bench is effective, I think the Kings are extremely hard to beat, whether it's the Bucks or the Nuggets or otherwise.
I think it's a great key. I'm also looking forward a little bit to that Malik Monk Pat Bev matchup off the bench.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Bring it on.
That'll be fun. I think that's the scuffle you're getting tonight.
Oh,
I know you want it to be Bobby Portis. I think it's going to be, maybe we'll get Monk, Bev, scuffle, Trey Lyles hard foul on Bobby Portis in response to whatever chicanery
okay.
Bev pulls.
I like, I could go for Trey Lyles versus Brooke Lopez, Greco-Roman wrestling take 2.
I'm sorry, did you say Greco?
Yeah, Greco-Roman wrestling.
Greco?
Greco. Whatever.
Greco-Roman.
Okay. I'm here for it.
All right. Want to remind everybody what we got coming up later on in the week. Tomorrow, that's Wednesday, we will have the Patriot League Championship on 102.5 HD2, The Bet, Sacramento. And then the Big Sky Championship on ESPN 1320 98.5 FM HD2, your smart speaker, and the free Odyssey app. It's championship week on 1320, and we will have a ton of that coming up for you right here on Sacramento Sports Leader. We're clear.
Oh, so we've got the 10th rated Sac State Hornets against Montana State today at 5:30. Not here.
Hornets?
So that would be the Big Sky Championship against the winner of Idaho State and Montana. Not Montana State, who Sac State is playing.
Oh, we might get a Montana State Big Sky Championship.
Do we have?
Montana State.
Oh,
So it's the Big Sky Showdown and the Big Sky Championship.
all right. We have a couple of minutes.
I'll
be right back.
I just panicked. Chatty House, hang on. Yeah, we got 340.
Oh.
Chatty House, give me 1 second. I'm in the process of saving stuff. Hang on. Beep. All right, here we go. What's up, Chatty Gang? Bro, I don't think I've ever been to Aldenberto's. I've been to Adalberto's. El Forastero. I've been to Beto's down there on is that Fulton? No, not Fulton. What street is Beto's on? Can't remember. I used to live over there. Definitely not like Chipotle is fine. But I will take any. I go to Chipotle if somebody wants Chipotle. I don't go to Chipotle because I'm like, man, I'm craving Mexican food tonight. With all due respect, it's fine. I think the Eagles' success is going to come down to whether Jalen Hurts is good or not. El Camino, thank you, Ramsey. Yeah, Beto's. I stayed eating tacos at Beto's. That pollo asado taco. We would get tanked at the apartment that I used to live at. We'd have a driver, obviously, and we'd go to Beto's because it was 24 hours. And we'd just hang out and eat Mexican food at all hours of the morning. Oh, that explains it.
I just got shocked plugging in my. That was weird. Static electricity.
It has its like Chipotle has its own. And again, I don't want to. I'm not trying to disparage Chipotle. And if they want to sponsor the show, shout us out. But no, I don't want us to disparage. It's just its own separate thing to me. It's like I want Chinese food, or I want sushi, or I want Mexican food, or I want burgers, or I want Chipotle. Like it's a separate entity to me. And honestly, it's typically more a function of like there's a Chipotle right next to the Trader Joe's my wife and I shop at. And if we don't have a dinner plan, it's like, all right, hey, we'll mobile order Chipotle real quick while we're checking out and then just run over there and grab it and take it home. It's more of a convenience thing than anything.
Yeah, Leezy, I think I got static shock because I'm wearing flannel.
I'll handle this one, James. It's because if they miss the playoffs, they keep their draft pick because it is lottery protected to the Hawks. And that makes it more difficult to trade future picks.
Yes, because now your 2025, 26, and potentially 27 picks are.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
All right, we got a gang of stuff to get to, and we have one segment to do it. The handoff with D'Lo coming up shortly.
Okay.
10, 15 minutes. There he pops in. Let's real quick finish up what we were doing at the break. Just to we'll lay this out every so often because it can be a little bit confusing because it is a little bit counterintuitive. It is ultimately better for the Kings to not get their draft pick this year.
Yes.
Than to get it.
Well, I mean, yes. Like, the 2024 draft is not considered a great draft.
Right.
Right. I mean, you could still find a great player at
Sure. In
number
any draft.
14 or number
Sure.
13, sure. But the problem that the Kings have is that because their pick is lottery protected,
Mhm.
so it's top 14 from the Kevin Huerter trade. They owe a first round pick to the Atlanta Hawks. It's top 14 protected this year. It's top 12 protected next year. It's top 10 protected the year after that. And then if it doesn't relay, well, maybe it's 12. Oh, like, okay, I'm going to have to go back and look. If it doesn't relay by 2026, then it dissolves into a two second round picks in 2027.
Mhm.
Or a 26 and 27 second round pick, something like that.
Mhm.
The problem is that because of the Stepien rule, you're not allowed to trade back-to-back first-round picks in advance.
right.
Right? So the Kings, because they owe a 2024, they can't trade their 2025 pick. But if they don't relay that pick now, that means that if they don't give it up, in that the 2025 pick could be traded, which means they can't trade their 2026 pick. And it also, because the 2026 could be relayed, it means they can't trade their 2027. And so if they don't give it up right now, then their 25, 26, 27 picks are basically, they're not gone, but they're locked into this window where it takes more negotiating,
Right.
right?
And makes it a less desirable deal.
Yes, a less desirable trade,
Yeah.
right? But if they do relay their 2024, July 1st, they now have access to their 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30,
Mhm.
and 31, up to 7 years.
Right.
You can only trade every other pick, so that means that the Kings could have access to up to 4 first-round picks
Right.
and additional pick swaps on top of that.
Mhm.
So now you have your full arsenal of first-round picks.
Right.
That's the deal. So you would prefer, if you're the Kings, to give up a 2024 pick in a suspect draft. And people who ask, well, would Atlanta work with you? No, not at this
No
point.
chance.
Not at this point. A year ago, yeah, they probably would have worked with you to tighten it up. And you can always add these things into a thing that says, hey, we'll give you our 2027 first round pick if the 2025 pick is conveyed.
Sure. Right.
Or we'll give you the 2028, but you can see very quickly
But they're not doing that.
you could see how it's like 2027, 29, and 31. And if you don't get the 2027, then it would be a 2028. But now you can only trade 2 first round picks, a
Right.
2028 and a 2030.
Which makes it more difficult to make substantial moves in the offseason.
Yes. It's just like what kind of capital. And the Kings might not trade their picks. They might not.
Sure.
But the
But
fact
they're
is
available.
you don't have the opportunity to trade them is different. You don't have, if for some reason Mikal Bridges comes up for
Right.
the Nets say, hey, we're willing to shop Mikal Bridges, and the Kings can't push all their chips in and say,
Mhm.
we're in. That's a big deal.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So it's the short of it is make the playoffs, have access to 7 years worth of picks this offseason.
Yep.
Miss the playoffs, you don't have access to that number of picks.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's it.
Like and it's a pretty significant deal.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the
Either
Kings-
you have
yeah.
a truckload to offer somebody, or you have the trunk of your Honda Accord to offer somebody.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what we're talking about.
I drive a Civic, but that's fine.
Okay, your Civic, yes, your Civic. I meant a Honda Accord in like just some hypothetical
Okay.
Honda Accord,
Okay.
not yours.
I thought you were
specific.
taking shots at my Honda. I
No,
love my
no, I
Honda.
knew you're.
We're approaching
yeah.
260,000 miles.
I know. The Civic's done well for you.
I'm getting it to 300K. I'm determined.
That's right.
Can we talk defense quickly?
Yeah, they don't play any.
No.
Let's move on.
Let's talk defense. Are they
it's
playing
bad.
defense?
It's-
No. Moving on. Next.
They can't defend the 3. That's a problem. You're
problem.
going up against I think the Bucks are 4th in the league in 3-point percentage, or 6th in the league in 3-point percentage.
They are 7th in the league in 3-point percentage. That's
Okay.
per 100 possessions. Hang on. Per game.
They're 8th. My bad. They shoot 37.6% from 3.
Oh,
Which-
but they're tied with Golden State and the Lakers.
Oh, okay. They take a ton of them. They take 38.1 3-point attempts per game, which is 6th.
Jeez.
They hit the fourth amount of threes per game at 14.3. This is a really, really solid title contending team.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
would
they're
say,
very
like,
good.
if it's not the Celtics coming out of the East, it's the Bucks, at least in my opinion.
I agree.
There's a possibility that someone else like turns it on and becomes that team, but they're one of a few title contending teams in the NBA.
So that dovetails nicely into what I wanted to talk about with them, because remember all the consternation, we talked about this a little bit earlier, all the consternation about their defense.
Mhm.
Oh, their defense is so bad, they can't figure it out. They missed Drew Holiday, they've missed Chris Middleton. The Milwaukee Bucks are now up to 15th in defensive rating in the league this year, 115.7.
Okay.
I went and looked at the last 10, and then this ties into Mike Brown constantly harping on defense. And the Kings needing to get better defensively if they want to get into that championship contending tier. And the numbers back this up, because Denver last year was 15th in defensive rating. Oddly enough, they were 5th in offensive rating. That's exactly what Milwaukee is this year. But 15th over the last decade plus, 2.5 decades actually, is the lowest defensive rating for an NBA champion. Since the 2000-2001 Lakers, that is the last time a team was worse in defensive rating in the regular season than last year's Nuggets were and still won a title.
Mm.
That like middle of the pack would be great for Sacramento. They're 20th right now.
In
They were up-
defensive rating.
Yeah, they were up around 15th. Okay, that's fine. But the history says the last decade, here's the Nuggets last year, 15th in defensive rating. Here are the other champions going backwards from there. The Warriors, 1st in 22. Milwaukee, the year before that, 10th. Then you've got Lakers 3rd, Raptors 5th, Warriors 11th, Warriors 2nd, Cleveland 10th, Warriors 1st, San Antonio 3rd. You have to play defense to win titles.
No, I totally agree.
And that is, I understand that we come in here, we talk about Kevin Huerter and, Keegan Murray and his offensive development and this and that. And you have to score the basketball for sure. Frankly, the Timberwolves' lack of offensive firepower is the reason I don't think they can go win a championship this year. So there has to be a balance. But there is a pretty clear benchmark on the defensive side that you need to reach to be in that title contending tier.
Mm-hmm.
And Sacramento is just not there.
Well, I think just if we look at the 9 games since the All-Star break,
Mhm.
right? I think it tells the whole story. The Kings have cranked up their offense. Right now, they're 5th in the league in offensive rating at 118 since the All-Star break.
Yeah.
They are 26th in defensive rating since the All-Star break at 118.5.
Ooh.
So they're a negative 0.5 net rating. And Kyle, they're 5-4. Like, it tells you,
That's
like you're a 500 team, maybe a little bit better, maybe a little bit worse, but right there at 500. And if you can't figure it out, which again, it doesn't matter how much they crank up this offense. We cranked the offense all the way up to 118 offensive rating. Your defensive rating is 118.5. You're losing.
That's
just not the formula.
crazy.
That's not the formula for winning. And, like we started talking about, like rebounding numbers earlier, right?
Mhm.
We were going to have a discussion on the Kings' lack of rebound. The Kings they're 1st in the league in defensive rebound percentage on the season.
Right.
And since the All-Star break, they're 2nd at 75.6%. Like, this is a good rebounding. They're not a good offensive rebounding team. That's just something that although since the All-Star break, they're 4th in the league in offensive rebounding. They're crashing the glass.
And they're scoring more.
But here's the problem with when you crash the glass and you become a good offensive rebounding team. I almost guarantee you part of the reason why the Kings are slipping in defensive rating is because as your offensive rebound rate goes up, your transition defense goes down.
I would be willing to bet there is a graph or some number out there that shows you the correlation between those two things, or the inverse correlation between those two things.
Yeah. It's very difficult to both be a good offensive rebounding team and a team that stops transition.
Yeah.
And then the other problem the Kings have is that their turnover percentage, which, again, the other night was an anomaly. You had 9 turnovers from Sabonis, but 9 leading to, a ton of points. And 9 of the 12, the Kings 12. So the other guys only had 3 turnovers on the night. But the Kings, since the All-Star break, they're 12th in the league at 12.9 turnovers per game. One of the games they played where every single time they turned the ball over, the other team scored was ridiculous. And I think it might have been the Bulls where they had 4 turnovers that led to like 11 points.
Yeah. I think that's right.
You're going to lose.
Yes.
You're going to, if every single time you turn the ball over, it's a live ball turnover and it's in the bucket, you're done.
Yep.
And most of them were 3-point shots, or they were and ones. I mean, they were scoring at such a high efficiency. There's no way to make that up.
Nope.
So,
yeah,
wild.
that just kind of underscores it. And again, the reason I bring this up is not because it's breaking news that the Kings struggle defensively.
Yeah,
we all knew that. It's not, but it's just kind of trying to get to the core of why Mike Brown harps on it so much, and why this is something that is so essential, and why when you and I talk about what this team needs moving forward, okay, we can talk about Keegan Murray all day. In fact, we talked about Keegan Murray a lot yesterday. We can talk about Davion Mitchell, and look at he's performing better offensively, but everything comes down to how well this team can get stops.
Yeah.
And right now they just can't.
Well, Kyle, and I think people need to understand that all of these things, they feed each other.
No doubt.
So if you want to be a good defensive team, then you need to get defensive rebounds. The fact that the Kings are 26 in the league and what are they? 20th in the league, right? But they're number 1 in defensive rebounding. That is almost an indictment on them. The fact that you're not giving teams second chance points, but you're still horrible defensively, that's not a good thing. Like, the reason you lost to the Warriors in the playoffs really was to spray 3. It was Looney grabbing an offensive rebound, relocating, firing it to somebody. Looney, in like half the games, had 9 assists.
It was crazy.
It was wild. The reason you lost in the playoffs was that specific thing. This current team, that's not why they're losing. They're not giving up a bunch of second chance points. They're still a really good defensive rebounding team.
No doubt.
They're closing the possession. But like, if you can't get a stop and you're pulling the ball out of the basket, it makes it harder for you to push the pace. The Kings' pace in the 9 games since the All-Star break is all the way down to 98. And their pace is bad because their defense is bad.
Yeah.
You want good pace? Okay, get a stop. Boom.
Yeah, get out and run.
We're going.
It's really hard to run when you're pulling the ball out of the basket.
Exactly. And the Kings are one of the teams that are good at that, like rushing, asking for the ball, but you're at the mercy of an official completely.
Yeah.
So all of these things feed into each other. You want to be a good offensive team? Okay, be a decent defensive team.
Yeah.
That will lead to more transition buckets. It'll lead to more opportunity.
I mean, you've seen it. How many times this year have we seen them have a stretch where I think we saw it against the Lakers? We've seen it in, countless games this year where they have this really good stretch. I think they did it against the Clippers when they kicked the heck out of them down in Los Angeles. I know they did it against Detroit when Detroit got up big on them early and then they came back. It's generating turnovers and getting out on the run. And they've just done, when they do that, you see the impact it has on their offense, like defense leading to offense. That is just such a key thing that they are missing. And we talked earlier about when we were doing keys to victory tonight. It's like, hey, you got to make your shots. Well, you have to be able to have recourse when you're not making your shots.
Yeah, because even great teams don't always they don't always hit their shots.
No, but you get stops and you get out and run and you get transition buckets. And
yeah, a couple of games ago, the Kings scored 76 points in the paint.
Yeah.
Where does that team go?
I think they did that 2 games in a row, if I'm not mistaken.
71 and 76, I think, something like that. That is a formula for winning.
Damian Barling here for the handoff. D'Lo and Casey coming up at noon. We've just been talking about the defensive rating stuff with the Kings because it's something that Mike Brown just harps on, it feels like, and we talk about after every single game. And so I went and I dove into the numbers to figure out like how far away are they. And the last time a team with a defensive rating is rank, obviously the numbers are going to be different because the game has changed so much, but a defensive rating rank worse than where the Kings are this year or last year was the 2000-2001 Los Angeles Lakers. It's been like 2.5 decades.
To do what?
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
To win a
to win a title.
Yeah.
I left out that key thing.
Yeah. No.
And that just, but the reason I bring it up is because.
And what were the Lakers again? Because
the 2000-2001 Lakers, they were 21st in defensive rating, but I also looked this up. They gave up 97 points a game that year. They gave up that twice in the playoffs.
Wow.
Everything
they also
else
had
was,
2 of the greatest offensive weapons in the history of the game.
Sure. Yeah. It's just the reason I even thought about it is because of the Bucks, and there's this panic about their defense. Well, they're 15th, which is exactly what the Nuggets were last year. But then I started thinking, like, man, we talk a lot about offense with the Kings. We talk so much about, man, Kevin Huerter's falling off, and Keegan Murray, why isn't he shooting it as much? And Domas needs to shoot it more, or shoot it less, and De'Aaron needs to take more threes or fewer threes or whatever it is. It's like, man, most of their problems to me come down to the defensive end.
I disagree a little bit. Like
don't do that. It's my show.
No, I understand that like when you're talking about winning a championship, which it was the crux of the conversation, the Lakers stat. But when you talk about winning a championship, obviously this team has a lot of flaws. When you talk about this version of the Sacramento Kings succeeding, it's based on what they could do on the offensive end. Keegan's really good defensively. De'Aaron is very good defensively. But the heart of this team is their offense. Like their issues come to if shooting 18% from 3. Like that's their problem. If they're doing what they're supposed to be doing offensively, there's very few games. Interestingly enough, Milwaukee's one of them. There's very few games where when they're hitting offensively, where they're doing the things that you believe that they should do or are capable of doing offensively, they're going to lose. Unfortunately, the last time they played Milwaukee is one of those games where they hit on all cylinders offensively, except at the free throw line, or at least I think they shot like 15 of 20. It wasn't like an absurd number. It's just they missed all of those free throws at the very end of the game.
3 they needed at the end
when
of the
they
game.
could have put the game away. That's when they missed bulk of their free throws.
But to me, I push back on that a little bit because I understand what you're saying, but there's going to be nights where you go 6 for 32, and there's going to be nights where you're not shooting it well from 3. No, I know, and that's the issue right now. Is they win and lose based on whether the ball goes in the hoop or not, and there's just sometimes you make it, sometimes you miss.
Yeah,
you need to have some counterpunch. You need to be able to get a stop at a higher rate than they're getting.
I don't disagree. I just don't think that's how they're constructed.
Then that's a problem.
100%.
Okay.
I'm just trying to survive the season. That's I'm just get to the first round of the playoffs. That's all I care about right now. Get to a playoff series. And it said this 1,000 times. It's not that I want them to lose. It's not, just get whatever happens after that happens. It's going to suck when they get eliminated. It's going to sting. But in the end, it's going to be just fine. Just freaking get there. Yeah. And then you've got issues that you have to address this offseason for sure. But this team just isn't constructed, unfortunately, to get a high volume of stops.
Yeah, there are 7 times. We talked about this on the podcast yesterday. Brandon brought this stat. There are 7 games this season where the Kings have shot 27% or below from 3. They're 0-7 those games.
Yeah.
Their 7 worst games from 3, they lose. They've lost. Like, you can't. Well, yeah, but there has to be another counter. There has to be something else. Like, again, the game against Houston, 6 of 32 is the worst game of the season, 18.8%. Well, like, it wasn't even close.
6 of 32 is nuts.
No, it's bad. Yeah, it's bad. Like, they've been able to score in the paint a lot lately. They even outscored who'd they just lose to?
Chicago?
They just lost to Chicago?
The other night?
Yeah.
No, they just lost to Houston.
Houston, thank you. Goodness gracious. It's
been a lot of games.
They scored, they outscored Houston in the paint right there, like 50-something. but the Rockets hit like 11. They hit 40%, 41% from threes.
Mhm.
It was like 11 of 29 or something like that. It wasn't like an outrageous volume. They just wound up hitting 5 more threes. Like you would hope Sacramento could, when that shot's not falling, attack the paint where they've been really effective lately. It's just when you're giving up this historically awful 3-point defense that they have, 3 is going to beat 2 when you have 6 or 7 trips for the opposing team that come from the 3-point line versus the 2-point line. So it's like they're swimming against the current, and it's ultimately going to be their downfall this season. But I just hope their downfall doesn't come in the play-in.
As Damian Barling, D'Lo, and KC coming up, what do you guys got?
A lot of this, that's for sure.
Can't
Will Z
wait.
will join us to preview the game. Trista Crick's with us on Tuesdays. Jason Jones, the final hour of the show. Of course, we'll talk a lot about what's going on in the NFL as well. But we're going to get ready for tonight's game and then talk about everything that did not go Sacramento's way last night.
D'Lo and KC coming up next on ESPN 1320 Sacramento Sports.